Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Glued In podcast, episode 3. I'm your host, Anuj Singh. I've got a very special guest in the building. He is one of our maintainers for Kagent. He started his career off as a software engineer for various companies, and he was working primarily with Java, one of his languages of his many languages that he was using, and then found his way over to Amdocs. And at Amdocs, he was a CRM consultant for about 3 years or so, and then a senior technical consultant, and then moved into the role of software architect, where he's been exploring a lot of DevOps tools, a lot of things like service mesh, a lot of open source tools. And we are so excited to have him here with us on the Gluten podcast. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dmytro Rashko. Dmytro, nice to meet you.
Yeah, hi Anuj. Hi everyone. Nice to meet you as well. Yeah, I think you almost mentioned it correct. Yes, I started as a kind of in the Java developer areas and so on, and then I moved to the more like technical consultancy working with CRM products, and this is how I started to work on Amdocs projects,
Mhm.
customer projects, mainly working in professional services and actually visiting multiple customers. That was like before the times when everything became remote and
Yeah.
remote first. I think if you remember that times like 20 years ago,
Yeah.
15 years ago, that's like
Something like that.
you need to go and see your customer, in person. That
Yeah.
was a fun time. And yeah, it's moving forward. I was working as a technical consultant for our CRM products, doing different style of work like performance, production review, upgrades when you move complex upgrades projects with database migration, with infrastructure migration, and so on and so on. And then slowly I was kind of moving to the new areas digital transformations, Kubernetes,
Mhm.
basically starting projects with customers which were moving to cloud and go in that direction. This is how I got a bit familiar with Kubernetes, with
Yeah.
all the fun stuff like the um, basically infrastructure as a code, as also like more automatic things, which you see more automation, more systems which are self managed in the way. Uh, Compared to the previous times when we did things manually and you have to write a lot of scripts, a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
moving to Kubernetes was kind of like a
Heaven
quite
sent a
quite
little bit,
exciting time.
right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
yeah.
But
And
I want
then it
to.
was, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to finish then the kind of moving to the current times because and at the end I moved to the platform team within our organization, and we actually have different squads, let's say, like smaller teams inside the platform, which are working on different areas as well of expertise. And mine, my main area is actually service mesh, like Istio,
Got it.
and just Kubernetes operators. So we have several like a lifecycle manager operators for microservice platform, in which we do the microservices, backend services like Couchbase, Postgres, Elastic, and so on and so on. And
Got it.
basically, service mesh was kind of the biggest differentiator. As soon as we started to go with that, I basically found myself in the completely new domain, like Istio. Then I started to look more open source, more on CNCF projects. And this is how I get to know the wonderful community around Istio. I think also solo.io is very much contributed to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome background. And I'm super curious in your beginning roles, right? You were like I said, primarily Java development, probably building applications for those companies. And then you moved to this new role from like just being a software developer to now I'm going and I'm having to talk to customers and I'm going in front of them. You mentioned visiting customers. I'm a solution engineer here at Solo, so I do that quite a bit, right? I go talk to customers, consult about things. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
what kind of sparked that transition for you to, I'm done just being a software engineer. I kind of want to go and do this with customers. I kind kind of want to go in front of people and explain what we can do.
I think it was actually the global trend inside the companies. I think we've seen a lot of a lot of companies from Europe started to actually outsource the coder work, or let's say a regular work which you do, just coding and doing some development,
Mhm.
to offshore, just to optimize the cost. And there was quite a big migration, I don't know, around 2007, probably eight. And then at that time, it was actually more easy to choose and work on some kind of the last line,
Yeah,
the last mile kind of projects
sure.
where everything is already done, right? There is a huge project with a lot of resources. Typically you can have like hundreds of developers doing something, and then you go to customer and you make sure this is the last mile thing is successful. So my role was usually to make whatever was done with all the challenges, quality, speed, all of these things, to meet the customer expectation and to make it happen.
Yeah.
And also I often make. I think in my LinkedIn I wrote somewhere that I make projects successful. This is my role usually, and how I see myself.
Absolutely. Oh, that makes sense. And then you kind of went into the software architect role at Amdocs. And I mean, I'm sure you know, right? Like Java,
Yeah,
but then Go and Rust, like these programming languages are very geared towards DevOps tools. Like, Kubernetes was in Go, and then there's a lot of Rust.
exactly.
How did you transition to start learning that? Was that all self-taught, or did you go back to school, or how did you start learning
Mm,
these tools? Yeah.
I think the transition, basically two things, right? You ask about like moving to the software architect.
Mhm.
I was taking this role as a kind of solution architect at some point, because we had several like these huge big projects with big telco customers as well. And I mean, I was like taking the active role on the project from the beginning. And when you start to set up the project, like from the small amount of teams, and then it's growing, then you have like 10 teams, 20
Yeah.
teams
Yeah.
working on different things, and it's become to scale. You kind of grow in the area. Okay, I need to keep it running, so I need to keep it working correctly. So you start to be worried about the SDLC, like software development lifecycle. You worried about CI, fast CI, test coverage, all kind of processes internally to make sure that all this machine with a lot of like hundreds microservices is actually functioning
Yeah.
correctly.
Doing what
And
it's
then
supposed to do. Yeah.
as a software architect, you need to focus on obviously on tasks like performance, like make sure that things are balanced correctly inside Kubernetes. You have the correct things working properly. So I mean, it took a while actually to get into this role as well. And then at some point, I've seen that I'm working more on this like DevOps area, all the time.
Mhm.
So I'm focused mainly on the pipelines, on the tooling, on the delivering, and making sure we kind of have the process smooth and running. And it was a natural transition, I would say. And at some point, I realized that I do so many things in this area. So it would be nice to move to the team, which is actually doing this stuff from the start. So,
Yeah.
and at the same time, my colleague who actually moved to the platform team before, he pinged me and said, "Do you know, like we worked a lot together, so it was fun time. So come to us." And then I said, "Okay, I don't know, go. Like, what should I do?" It's
Yeah.
not the problem. And actually, with a lot of experience, you can say over time, it's not a big deal to learn a new language, right?
Sure.
Especially Go was designed to be to work in the big scale teams with kind of similar rules about the code, about the convention. So I think moving to Go was very nice, and I've seen a lot of advantages with the static languages due to the growing security threats, with CVEs, with other
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
when you move to Go, you understand that your security kind of is improving, and I've seen compared to JavaScript or TypeScript and other areas,
Yeah.
Go looked really solid,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I think I took a couple of online courses to learn the languages, but mainly it was uh, just learning by doing, starting with some development tasks, implementing the Kubernetes operators. At the end, when you work in Kubernetes operator area, it's a kind of very similar pattern. You have the controllers, you have the CRDs, you have some kind of events, and
Hmm.
then you kind of work on that. And it's not really a rocket science, but I think the main challenge there is to design it in the right way, and then move it to the right direction over time. And as our team, where kind of I'm working on, I would say we're pretty successful in that, to keeping these operators, in the long time and maintained and supported with, I would say, a couple of years of, constantly doing the upgrades and keeping
Hmm.
it up to date and so on. So that's kind of the main focus. And then, of course, when I started to also study what can we do with service mesh, how to
Yeah. Yeah.
adopt it, how to do it, we decided to take a different approach. Like previously, such big things, big components, they require kind of a support, right? And in the organization, usually you buy the support from external company. And our team decided to do it differently this time, and we decided, okay, we will take as open source project, and we will start to kind of do internal support for our teams,
I see.
which means we were building it, like we were monitoring, scanning for CVEs, doing some additional required changes. And yeah, that's how I got familiar with service mesh a bit
Yeah.
more. Um
I was gonna that feeds into my next question, right? I was very curious on like where this idea of open source, or I should be part of this open source community, came from. So it sounds like that kind of came around this time when
yeah,
you're learning like Go, and you're learning and you're just trying to revamp your company's modernization strategy for DevOps, and then open source kind of just came hand in hand. Is that kind of how you got into it? Yeah.
I would say so. If you look on any platform, like which is using the mainly CNCF, there are a couple of things which are driving this. I think the main drivers is the model CNCF using around the licensing, right? So every project which is donated, he has like several independent contributing like sponsors, right?
Hmm.
And this is super important, because if you know the stories about companies who are like changing the license and then changing completely, like, okay, would not say any names, but it was like a huge risk, right? So you cannot have a long-term investment into that. And I think CNCF and Linux Foundation, they give this model where big companies come together. They say, okay, everything belongs to the CNCF, and then everyone equally can use it and equally contribute, which is, I think, a very good model for the open source. So it's not just open source as a, I would say, as any random project. Is basically uh, to the enterprise and to the corporations. I think CNCF gives a exactly right model where the from legal and from the community perspective, everything is well balanced. So
Hmm.
you can use it, you can contribute it, you can basically have people working in your company also kind of participating without having this risk of legal saying that your code that you wrote belongs to different company and stuff like this, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I always love to touch on that, and I touched with that in my last episode. It's the democratization of software, like the being able to contribute in a nice and orderly fashioned way through CNCF, where you know what you're building is going towards a greater good, and then you're able to use that and still feel I have the guardrails, I have the security, because these tools are very much certified under a governing
Yeah,
body that we can all agree that works well and does well. So Istio.
exactly.
Istio was the first open source tool you used, or what do you think the first open
No,
source
I
tool
would
you used?
say I would say we had also some examples which were not so successful, or maybe I would call it first like a bad example, maybe, like, and then we can move to the good examples. Okay, like
Yes, absolutely.
or ugly example, you can say, I don't know exactly, but at some point a couple of years ago, there was a right before the operator started, right? There was a very popular thing which we called like service brokers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a project under Kubernetes umbrella which was like doing some kind of service broker common things, preparing some kind of like building blocks where you can build this idea of service brokers. And I think what we learned from that experience, if you try to adopt it and then later on it's getting like archived, no one has interest, it's not supported, this is probably like a very difficult choice, because then you need to support it more years than usual, like, and there is no one who can provide you that support. And we had that experience to kind of take in it, and then basically it was very difficult to manage and get rid of it. But luckily, we rewrote everything to the proper operators when the operator runtime came in,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a kind of example of project which was on one hand we took it like open source, but it was actually deprecated soon, and then we had still to support it for several years after,
Sure.
which was really a good like a big challenge.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, projects like Istio, and this is why I started to look more into it. We wanted also myself and our team, we want to have more information about like what's going on. Like, so I started to follow the community meetings, videos, how people communicate, how people discuss and document the issues, all of that. And it's super interesting to actually see it from your organization, see how this kind of open communication happens, right?
Okay.
It's like how people from different companies able to find a consensus on several topics, like or bring a new contribution. And you have to be really careful when you bring something to make sure you prepare this from all the angles, from all possible sides, that it's kind of
Sure.
compatible, it's not breaking anyone else, so that it can be part of a long-term project, and there are people who are interested to take it in and support it and stuff like that, and as a result of this very tough selection, like if not every PR is easy to push through, right? So if you just come with some PR and you never had that experience,
Yeah.
you will probably be saying, "Oh, okay, it's super tough. It can take weeks, maybe," and
100%.
yeah, and basically that's like the not a dark side, but that's like a side of open source which guarantee that things are really good at the end and that they are taken in when it's a good quality. And this quality gate is very important, I think, for these community-driven projects, because then everyone else like signing and saying, okay, that makes sense, or
That doesn't
it's
make
not
sense.
just
Don't push that.
yeah.
Please don't. Yeah.
And there was a fun meme somewhere on the internet saying like, the people who go to open source and create PRs, they are doing it not from fun, but actually from being like desperate and saying like, okay, I'll find your dog and kill you. Kind of, if
No.
you don't merge my PR, but that's not my case.
Yeah. Let's hope that's not the case. I wouldn't want that to be. But yeah, that feeds into my next question because I was very curious, right? As somebody who uses open source tools all the time, I've worked for open source companies. There's a difference between using the tools and actually committing to changing those tools to what you think would be beneficial, right? So I'm curious
Yeah.
when, especially with on the Kagent side, and we'll get more into Kagent, but you're a contributor. You are a key maintainer for Kagent. Was this, going back to your first point where you had the service brokers and then it all of a sudden got deprecated and you're like, well, we still have to maintain this, so we're going to keep doing this. Did that kind of spark something internally with you where you're like, if I can go and actually help maintain, maybe I can keep these projects that I love moving forward, so I won't have to worry about this? Like, I guess what I'm trying to get at is where did this idea of I want to start committing to open source projects and I want to start helping, where did that come from you? Yeah.
Yeah, I think all of the things that you mentioned, kind of. I think on one side, I wanted just to try it, and see if these things will go. Because if you develop most of your code in closed source, like in some kind of unknown Bitbucket,
Yeah.
it's it could be fun, of course, but then you kind of you don't have this. You cannot explain it. You don't have any public record of that. And I think for me, I wanted to try to see how we can how I can do it myself. How basically, if we start to use project like Kagent
Hmm.
in our team, that I wanted to start from the beginning to be on board, to be kind of be able to participate from the beginning. Because
Hmm.
with Istio, it will be super difficult. With Istio, you come and there are like very big names and very big
There's so many
context that
people
you
now.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, and the huge context. I try to go through all the recordings and Google Drives. It's huge. It's like to follow. With Key Agent, it was kind of a little bit like a fresh start. Okay,
Hmm.
and I saw that it's like, okay, I'll try it, and let's see how much I can keep up, with my contributions. And I see the most important things here is actually doing it regularly, like on a weekly basis, daily basis, to follow the project, follow changes, answer the help request if someone is like pinging you in community. And this requires a lot of discipline actually to build around.
Yeah.
So it's not like, that you got like a random email and someone is like, asking you to do this or that. It's actually, you need to go and find out, okay, check your list of updated topics, help queries, maybe pull request, maybe something else, and actually proactively collaborate, which is, I would say, it's something similar if you need to go to gym regularly, you need to go to your open source regularly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I
Yeah.
think it's exercise, like you said, right? It's like I've got to go keep maintaining, I've got to stay involved with the community. That's why I was so interested in, what made you want to do it, because it takes effort and it takes time and a lot of people can't do it. So, you should feel very special that you can do it. And I read in your GitHub as well that interested in agentic AI. That you're learning about that now. So obviously that probably brought you over to the K agent side. But where did this interest in agentic AI come from? Like where were you like, I want to learn this and I want to see how I can apply this to my job or just in my personal life as well? Yeah.
I think in general, I would say I realized that I'm late to hold this story. I was like keeping it, monitoring it in the background, but we, of course, everyone was using like co-pilots in some way here and there.
Hmm.
We had different like trials of agentic things, or not really agentic, but LLMs in different tasks like a year ago, couple of months ago. It was still not that much matured, right? You try to do like, I don't know, simple pull request review automatically. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's not. But then I think there was a moment when you see the LLMs become more advanced, and we got like MCP available, which was beginning of the year or end of last year. And then I think this was like a tipping point, like everything came to that moment when Key Agent was born. And it was actually the time when also the interest to all agentic stuff was growing exponentially. I think everyone noticed that the how the models now capable of doing things. And for me personally, when I've seen the initial like implementation, like the agent, the prompts, the tools, it was actually eye-opening, because I was like, yeah, I knew there is a prompt engineering. I knew there are some kind of things, but I was like really surprised to see how big could be this prompt, like how
Yeah.
much of things you need to explain to it.
Hmm.
And when I started to work with it, I realized why. Because actually, you're trying to build the right context, what we now call context engineering, and that also helps me even now with simple like AI coding exercises when we try to like evaluate different tools and stuff like this. I mean, some people when they try, they just open, for example, your tool and they just do one shot.
Yeah.
They ask some question, and they see like results are not always what they expect, and they're
Yeah.
like disappointed. They close it and they go away,
Yeah, the agent is
But
broken. It's the
yeah,
agent's fault when it's like has no context or anything to actually understand that
yeah,
question. Yeah.
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 And for me, when my first experience with Kagent was actually, I noticed that it's actually working, and then I tried to learn more, and I tried to see why it's working, and I seen some under the hood tricks or the architectural things, how it needs to be done, how you can use MCP, how you can use RAG, other
Hmm.
stuff, and it's all came to kind of. It will help me to understand better the technology in a very short period of time. I was very much, for me, it was very easy to take the declarative agent paradigm, with Kagent, when you just have a YAML file and you have agent ready for you,
Yeah.
which was super exciting. And especially when I realized that okay, you have specialized agents which are focused only on these tasks, and you can have side by side like Kubernetes agent and maybe like observability agent, right?
Like
Or
a
Istio agent.
Grafana or an
Uh,
Istio. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
and you can ask the same question, like, give me something, like some a list of something, and because these agents could be specialized on their particular domain, you can have like observability and you can have Istio, for example. So instead of getting answer about what you expect, you will get the answer from another domain, because
Hmm.
that agent has no clue about Istio. So it will tell you something about metrics and Prometheus.
Hmm.
And it happened to me a couple of times, just missing the right window of the chat, and then you see, okay, this is how it works, because it will try to give you anything as an answer based on the context, based on the tools. And basically, as a platform engineering, I think it's very interesting, because now what we can do, we can put some knowledge that we have and we already accumulated over years, maybe working as a platform, as a building platform. We know our product, our, let's say, frameworks, microservices, our tooling around Kubernetes. If we can put all of that knowledge in kind of like agent frameworks, right?
Hmm.
It can help us a lot with different topics. So it can help us to do the triage, like some
Yeah.
issues. You can do it much faster. You can actually record all the communication. There are many things which are happening on some kind of chats or somewhere, people discussing, running different commands, screen sharing, it.
Mm.
And if you
Messy.
start to
Yeah.
if you start to move it in this direction of let's do it via agents or like AI first, I think you're getting a couple of immediate benefits. You will get like a record of your sessions, right? So your
Mhm.
session become somewhere persisted. You can review it. You can like upvote, downvote. You can say, okay, it was successful or it was disaster. Um, and stuff like that. And not necessarily you give an agent like a full write access. You can start from just observability, from read only, from other things. I think just yesterday there was somewhere in the news, someone just deleted his big production database by using agents, and it was fun. So we definitely don't want this to happen with Kagent. So we want to come with the right guardrails, with the right framework where we can read things and not break things. And yeah, there is still some way to go, but looking on the current speed of innovation, how the agentic frameworks growing, how the new SDKs around that, I think we definitely can achieve it faster than we think.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I want to touch as well on your GitHub. I saw that you had some anomaly detection stuff on Zeek anomaly detector and things like that. I'm curious around that. Are you trying to take some of these principles, these cybersec principles, and kind of build them into K-Agent? Does that mindset or mind frame kind of help you with K-Agent? Because we talked just about guardrails. So I'm curious if that's where your cybersec background kind of comes in. You're like, I got to make sure this thing is locked down so the LLM doesn't hallucinate all of a sudden, right?
Yeah, I'm not like officially cybersec kind of person
Sure.
with a full time, but I'm definitely have it in my one of big of my interests. So I'm actually um, I try to follow that domain, that space, and it's actually very huge.
Mhm.
The people specialized only on that, and there are different areas, and especially when you talk about networking and all kind of observability in networking, which is similar to what Istio is doing, right? And
Sure.
others like with eBPF and stuff like this. Uh, we, we need to have some kind of mechanisms where we can detect the malicious activities,
Hmm.
especially with if you connect it to MCP, right?
Yeah.
Uh, God knows what this MCP has inside, right? Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of MCP servers out there, and they just keep exploding. It's very hard to regulate and understand all of them, right? So
I definitely like when I see like MCP, when I seen it like it's just growing and growing, I always was thinking, okay, uh, how close it is to the remote shell, like actually getting this is literally what we have in our K agent tools. We have ability to run the different like Kubernetes tooling, like kubectl, like istio-ctl, Helm, and so on, remotely, right? We give this opportunity, but we wrap it via MCP, we wrap it in kind of protocol. We try to put there some protection, like, for example, we can filter some inputs and validate them, all the traditional things. But in the same time, when people bring his own MCP, right?
Mhm.
And let's say it has some dependencies on Node.js or Python, which are kind of exploited and things like that. So you would need to have a mechanism to detect the network activity, which is like not expected, right? Something
Yeah.
which is abnormal. So
Yep.
that project, it was just a project developed here in Czech Republic, I think in one of the universities.
Very
There is
cool.
a laboratory that actually working on this tree detection and so on, and they use it for real time, like monitoring of their servers, and they publish reports regularly. I was just curious how the things are done internally, how you can combine the ML with network, and see it's pretty simple, like libraries there, like pandas to kind of and some kind of anomaly detection on top of it. But I think definitely the same principles could be implemented to the MCP and to the K agent in the future. I don't
Absolutely.
see, yeah.
Yeah. And so now I understand where you got your interest in agentic AI, right? And now I understand the context for K agent too, right? You're doing so much maintenance of Kubernetes, you're trying to stay ahead of the DevOps game. K agent just seemed like the right tool to mess with. How did you hear about K agent? Were you a fan of like solos and you just found it through Solo? Were you a fan of open source or CNCF? You found it there? I'm curious where K agent came in. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was for me like very interesting because I was on KubeCon in London,
I
and
see.
that actually was the time when it was announced. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and of course I came there mainly. My main goal was at that point to kind of get in touch with people with the Istio team, and there was Istio Day, which I wanted to attend as well and see everyone there in person because my initial plan was to kind of integrate more with Istio community, start to contributing and go that direction.
Hmm.
But as soon as I noticed that the K agent, it's like it's still all my attention, like
Yeah.
it took me completely. So unfortunately, I'm still trying to get more in Istio because I still need to follow it and it's a key component. But I think K agent is a main priority.
Yeah, yeah. And so I'm curious on your use cases for K-Agent. Have you used it in your own environment for something to automate, or are you testing it, or are you just maintaining it to see it grow to what you think it can be? Because you've just now been put in as a tools maintainer, which congratulations, by the way. So I'm curious, what are you using it for? And then also, what are you doing as a tools maintainer? Are you looking at the MCP side of things? Are you looking at the agentic side? Do I want to increase that ecosystem? Do I want to increase the
Hmm.
MCP ecosystem? So two-part question. I say, are you using it today in some of your tasks? And what are you working on as a tools maintainer within it? Yeah.
I think, yeah, one of the motivation why I'm trying to contribute is to to make it ready for me to use it, right?
Mhm.
So as enterprise customer, there are certain features which I would expect and qualities, like in the images, in the configuration, in security settings. I Currently, I'm not using it in any kind of daily production use. I'm still in the process of building it, doing internal adoption. We plan, for example, some even this week, some kind of workshop on Kagent, so people will get familiar how to work with it, things like that. And that's like a preparation, and then it's already on our roadmap to to use it as a base framework and agentic framework for the platform integration. We have multiple MCPs which are coming from the vendors like Couchbase or Confluent or some others, which would help obviously to do this troubleshooting. And the tools, for me, I definitely use it, and I'm trying to force myself every time I have someone pinging me for some support and we need to look on something.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to say, okay, can I run agent and ask agent first? It's like AI first. It's very difficult because I think the biggest challenge for us is to train our habits, right? So you need to change your habits. Instead of going and doing it with your kubectl or your scripts, or for example, there is usually a window when someone is asking you, I need help, right? And then you ask about this environment details, about other things, right? So you're losing time. So most likely you cannot, you need to specialized tools. And if you building a product for different customers in different regions, it's very complicated, right? So you cannot just
100%.
get easily that access and that things. So for our internal environments, we have hundreds of Kubernetes deployments, really I think on premise about 500 clusters where we run different versions, different combination of things. And when someone is coming to you as for help for one of our operators and other things, we try to minimize this time, when you
Yeah.
just mean time to recover or mean time to resolution or whatever. And by using these tools, it's already noticeable that you can cut the investigation by sometimes 10 times.
Yeah.
It's obviously instead of having 20 minutes, it can be done in 2 minutes if it's a pattern. If something that you've seen already or something that you already have mentioned in your prompt or mentioned in your RAG, that issue could be found by agent very, very quickly. And just a few weeks ago, I had that example. We spent 2 days missing some label, and
Fun.
then with AI, it was just 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll go run and find that for you real quick. I've used Kagent too in just minimal environments, and it'll find if I send my pods that crash loop back off, it'll figure it out for me without me having to go into the logs. It saves a lot of time. But you mentioned there is very much like a culture shift going on in the development community, in the tech community, with AI being in the forefront. You've got the flashy front end stuff where you hear about vibe coding, and now everybody is just using
Yeah,
AI, like they're using GitHub Copilot or Cursor. But then you've got this in the back end, where you've got the back end engineers. Their culture is shifting too. DevOps culture is shifting too. And do you see stuff like K-Agent being more prevalent? And what other types of use cases for AI in the DevOps community can you see being used? Because this one's very specific for K-Agent, right? And it's doing wonderful things. Where else do you see AI kind of disrupting an SRE's role or a platform engineer's role right now? Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the some members of Cajun community, they also published a nice blog post about it where uh, there was a comparison of the voice agent, the cursor integration, and
Mhm.
some other type. And so depending on the use case, it can take from minutes to half an hour. And I see definitely people trying to integrate things to their cursor, to their kind of tooling where you kind of have a direct connection, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But on another hand, as a kind of security awareness, right, person,
Mhm.
I would think about that as a maybe as a case where we shouldn't go that way to production, because that's like leads to those cases where you incidentally can do something wrong.
Sure.
Agents, when we prepare agents and we put a lot of work in agent with testing, with kind of evaluating the prompts and everything, right? We try to optimize it also in the Kagent. I think this is one of the added value of Kagent that will be over time noticeable. We would like to have these prompts and tools to work in the perfect combination. So the expected results will not surprise you in the bad way, you know.
Yeah.
So, because if you just give, and I've seen it I've seen it when you use this vibe coding style development and stuff like this, and you do not specifically say, don't run sudo, don't run the delete, don't run this. You may eventually, when your agent is stuck, it's getting very depressed. You know, like these LLMs,
Mhm.
when we're getting advanced LLMs, they sometimes under pressure, under very uncertain conditions, when your context is not clear, task is not clear, agent can start like to do things. Even there were people showing screenshots like agent deleted all the code base, you know, saying I'm free. Yeah, that's that's like not what we are building, right?
Yeah.
So you definitely can connect your MCP to your cursor and then do the full vibe, but that's potentially there is a risk for that.
Mhm.
Of course, you can run tools in the read-only mode. We also planning to add a specific flag for that. If someone
Mhm.
wants to use Kagent, there will be like dash dash read-only or something where you know, it will not do anything harmful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
handcuffs on it so it doesn't go and delete the entire code base. That's probably a good idea. Yeah.
but advanced models like Claude 4 and so on, if you work with them for a while, you will notice they can actually find a creative way to overcome that. They act as a very kind of smart developer sometimes. And then, for example, if you don't give it the tools, it can write a small Python program and run it for you, you know, or it can
Yeah.
find the connection details which you have somewhere on your disk and run it for you. So I think the more we will see like this area evolving, we will see more people running the agents in containers. I
Mm.
think the vibe coding will be shifting more in the containers, will like detached mode, where you give it a task and you kind of come back and review it. This is we see more and more. I think the question right now is just the price probably, because if you look on Copilot, GitHub Copilot, or Cursor or other background mode, they usually use the top, you know, the most expensive models,
Yeah.
which is still economically not really makes sense. But I would see that like probably in 1 year this will be like a pretty much normal. So every developer could have like a probably 5 parallel, you know, agents working, or like code agents or different type of agents, because some of them could work on your design, some of them working on some code, maybe some of them doing DevOps. You know, it's a whole range of different agents which you can combine. And I think I would call myself AI optimist at this point, but we still need to be careful in those use cases and the way we apply agents to the real production. So people, for example, suggest to combine traditional like a GitOps approach, right? So you can run something, then only use GitOps as a safe flow with approval flow, man in the loop, things like that. But on the other hand, I think agentic movement and all this AI can bring us totally new ways of working, where I would say the whole application could be written just with like rewritten and rewritten again and again, right?
Agreed. Agreed.
And
Yeah.
that's potentially what we will see like in the longer term, because um, the biggest problem, like it's not just to generate the first version one. The biggest problem, like how to maintain it, right? And I think the question which is worries me when I look on open source, when I look on like CNCF projects, and on the other hand, you see AI with all these powerful agentic world, big tech, which is like developing everything with agents. You
Yep.
see that some of the jobs and some of the roles are already augmented or partially replaced. Some of the roles are like moving, shifting to some degree. So, and if you think about shift left and shift right, I think the SRE jobs and those jobs which are kind of, have a lot of responsibility, we see that a lot of agents coming there. On the other hand, on the left side, you see a lot of jobs coming, like a lot of agents coming to the code review, code writing, code testing, test automation, and I think the space where you still need human will be kind of shifting in some directions where you will be like a reviewing, you will be more reading code, more approving, more kind of the decision maker or like the final reviewer of the change,
Absolutely.
and I don't know for how long. Maybe in this reports like 2027, they predict like the
Yeah.
big agent coming in the
Yeah.
2027. But to be realistic, I was like thinking about it as well. That I don't think it's. I think it's a more hype than reality. And from all the current predictions and things, there will be shift in the roles,
Hmm.
but there will be no like extinction of developers, right? This is doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Or some
I
people say the
completely agree.
opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people say the opposite. All the garbage will be generated by uh, code, like AI code.
Yeah.
Would need someone who will actually make an order, who will be like able to guarantee that the things are still working, still successful, still maintainable, and
Yeah.
stuff like this. And open source gives here a lot of experience, right? Because people in open source reviewing a lot of code, reviewing PRs, reviewing quality. I think that's a great place where you can exercise these skills.
Yeah, absolutely. And going this kind of leads to my final question, and it's a fun question. So I read that you are into sci-fi. So is this whole idea of AI and you pushing it forward just for you to fulfill the sci-fi fantasy that AI and robots will be taking over for us in the future? Is that the end goal here, Dmytro, or no?
No, I mean I'm big fan of sci-fi, let's say, and also I noticed that in our community we have several people who actually look on agents as a
Yeah.
kind of matrix analogy. The especially the one where you can get a new skill just by now I know kung fu.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, this is exactly what you see where you give in the agentic AI and the K agent world. If you give your agent an MCP, you can say, okay, now your agent knows
No, it's
a
Kung
completely
Fu.
new area. Yeah.
Yeah. I just hope it's not
So
Agent Smith from The Matrix because he was a bad guy.
no,
Yeah,
no, no,
it'll
no,
be
not
it'll be a
not that
nice
one.
agent. Yeah, yeah. Well, Dmytro, thank you so much for joining and telling us a little bit about yourself and what got you interested in Cage and for being a maintainer and for helping our community out. Is any parting advice for anybody who's wanting to get into open source that just doesn't even know where to start committing? Anything you can give to our viewers? Yeah.
Yeah, I think every open source project requires people to come, and they always have like a first good PR, or first good issue. That's typically, a simple change in the documentation. Every project needs such help, and it will help also the person who contributes to get more in touch with people, with similar interest, with similar kind of knowledge and so on. And I'm very excited and grateful for that like kind of opportunity because within Kagent we have a very cool community. People are coming and joining, contributing, exchanging ideas. We are trying to be supportive as much as we can by sharing our like other job, but
Sure.
on the same time, like everyone welcome. And I think the Kagent is CNCF project. There are more CNCF projects around also as well as an ecosystem, and it's a great place to be.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much. To those of you watching, I'll put Dmytro's LinkedIn and his GitHub in the description of this channel, so you can go check out some of the cool work he's doing with Kagent and with any other projects that he has. That concludes episode 3. Again, Dmytro, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. Thanks a lot.